Hi, everyone. Just starting up. Thanks for joining us.
Ooh.
Bryony. Ooh.
Ooh.
Great. Okay. So thank you so much for joining us. I don't know what it's like where you are, but it is absolutely piddling down here, and I've got a leak in my roof. So I'm so glad to be taking a break from having a look at that just to talk to Nikki and Bryony today. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. My name's Hannah. I'm the UK casting specialist at Backstage in the UK, and pouring rain in London. Thanks, Rachel. That's nice to know. I'm in Wales at the moment. So yeah, I'm the UK casting specialist at Backstage. I've been working with them for the last 3.5 years, making sure that everybody knows the Backstage is in the UK now, and you can use it to cast your projects and you can use it to find work in the UK. So as part of that, I've been running a slate of digital content, which has been going on since March, which has been going really well. And I'm sure some of you have already seen some of those sessions. And today, I'm really glad that we've got something together, which I don't really know why it's taken me so long, but we've been trying to get something together where we talk about regional casting. So casting outside of London. Hi from Florida. Hi. From LA. Hello. Okay, so if you're in the States, then we're going to be speaking about if you ever want to come to the UK for any work, London is probably where you're going to be told is the place to be, which is, to be honest, it is correct. But there are so many actors and so many agencies, and now even casting directors who live outside of London. There's mass exodus going on at the minute out of London during COVID and all of that stuff. So we're going to talk about how we can get opportunities for ourselves, how agents who have books outside of London, how they look after their talent, how they nurture their careers, how they give them opportunities, and what type of things are available for you. So we've got two fantastic people today who are able to give us a bit of insight into that. And that's Nikki Bolton and Bryony Paluzzi. Am I saying, oh my God, I don't even know how to say your name. Bryony, what's your last name? Polizzi, I did know that. Okay, sorry. Bryony Polizzi of Nicola Bolton Management, and they are based in the north of England. So thank you so much for joining us, Nikki and Bryony.
Hello, how are you? Are you well?
I'm doing well, apart from a leak in my roof, which is,
Worrying.
yeah. So if my ceiling falls in at some point during this conversation, just chat amongst yourselves. Continue talking. Couple of things. If you guys want to tweet or Instagram or anything about this today, we really love to see it. So we're at Backstage on Twitter. We're at Backstage Cast on Instagram. I am at Hannah Casting on Twitter. Nicola, what's your Twitter handle?
I'm at Nick Bolt Man. That's the that's our company, but I've got at Nikki Bolton as well.
Great. And Bryony?
Yeah, just at Bryony Polizzi. Yeah.
And you spell Polizzi P-U-L-I-Z-Z-I.
Yeah.
I can spell it, I just can't say it.
Yeah, that's the one.
So yeah, please do tweet out and let us know if you enjoyed the I was going to say the show. I'm so deprived of shows right now.
I know, I miss theatre so much. Can't tell you how much.
The chat. So we're going to be, let me just tell you guys what we're going to be approaching today. So we're going to have a deep dive into Nicola and Bryony's careers up to this point, and the genesis of Nicola Bolton Management. And then we're going to talk, as I say, really go in depth about casting and acting and carving a career for yourself outside of London. We're also going to talk about how you guys can work best with your agent. So what things can you really be doing to make sure that you're making the most out of your agent-actor relationship and helping out Nikki and Bryony, and also helping out yourself to get yourself more opportunities. Getting an agent, because that's the question I get asked more than any other questions in casting and when I speak to acting students and things like that. How do you get an agent? So we'll definitely be talking about that in depth as well. If you have any questions, there is a Q&A box pop them in there. I would really love to get to them. I can't promise anything because we tend to go off on tangents, but please do pop them in and I will ask away if I can. Cool. So let's start with you, Nikki, then. Yeah, give us a bit of background on how you started in the industry and got to the point where you are now.
Right, so I started working at the age of 10. I wasn't a brat in any way, actually. I was all right, I think, as a child. I went to a normal school, and I just started, doing the dance class and all the rest of it. And then I did the Sound of Music in London when I was 10. So I was one of the kids, the Von Trapp children. So that was kind of it then.
Oh.
I got the bug, and I just, so I left school. I did GCSEs, A levels. I didn't go to drama school. Because I started working, because it was at the time, because I'm so old, you needed to have an equity card at the time. So so I started working and just getting the jobs in, and sort of learnt on the job, really. I've done so many different things in my life. So did like a lot of West End stuff, and then did rep theatre, straight theatre, TV. I did quite a lot of adverts towards the end of my career, and I sort of decided when I hit my 40s and I had children, I'd been married and stuff, I just decided I couldn't cope with the whole acting world at that time. I don't know whether it was because at that age I stopped to get as many things as I used to do, or I just sort of lost my love affair with it, kind of ended. I found sort of going to auditions it used to get me tense and anxious. And I think that when you get to that stage, you think, actually, it's got to be that you love it and you enjoy it. So for me, I was like, oh no, I don't want to do this anymore. So that was that. I then started doing a bit of choreography, movement direction, went down that line of things. So I did quite a few like nice theatre jobs doing that. And then I think it was about 6 years ago, because I knew Leanne Regan. She approached me and said, would I like to sort of think about becoming an agent, because at the time I was working at Lipper in Liverpool, and I was given her, like I was saying, oh, this student's really good, and I was sort of suggesting people to her that were Welsh, obviously, because she they're based in Wales. So that's how that came about. So roll forward another 5 years, and there I was in Regan, Manchester, set it up from scratch. So we built the book up. Obviously, Bryony came on board, and then I decided I think it was June, that I was going to go it alone, and probably it was a good time as any to sort of set up on my own. So that's where I am today.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, it's such a difficult time to start a business generally, but what a great time to start something when the industry is quieter, so you can get everything set up, rather than always trying to catch up with yourself.
That's it. I mean, I think that it's been really interesting, because, as you say, it's sort of definitely everything stopped, didn't it? We all know that, and it's now just starting to get back in some, certain areas, especially like adverts, TV, film. It's nowhere near up to normal, as we all know, but theatre's not back in yet. But that gave me that time to just sort of, consolidate, think about things, think about the direction we wanted to go in and stuff, and build it, and so it's actually been, although it's been a terrible time for everybody, 2020, let's put it in the bin, but it's been a good opportunity for, it's actually worked out well for me, because it gave me a bit of a kick to do it now.
You get creative as well when there's moments like this. Like if we're dealing with something like Backstage at the minute, with, like you said, things are really kicking off again with the casting side of things, but we've pivoted and done this digital slate, and we've been providing all this content. So there's ways that you can pivot and make something creative and exciting out of quite a rubbish time.
I mean, we've got actors that have, they've been sort of in lockdown, and they've done films, they've filmed, they've sort of written and one of my lads and his girlfriend, I mean, it's a really good little short, it's a brilliant film, and I think they're applying for different things with it. So if they hadn't been in lockdown, they probably wouldn't have done that, that's the thing. So as you say, you sort of shove together, and then something comes out of it, doesn't it? So I think that actors are so good at being creative anyway, because they just have to think on their feet the whole time, don't they? Think, right, how am I going to make opportunities? So so it's kind of out of this really awful time is born lots of great things, I'm hoping.
Yeah, really good. I mean, I didn't even think about, I haven't mentioned this before in one of these webinars, but yeah, I mean, the things that I've been getting through from actors over the last 4 or 5 months have been amazing, like so creative, really showing them in the way that they want to be seen. So if they haven't got a piece of material on their show reel which shows them as the type of role that they might want to go for, they're creating it themselves. And actually, I don't know, maybe people are much more willing to see it as well.
Yeah,
right now.
I think the industry is got to change for the better. So I think that we're all, you know, I think what really it really proved to me this time was that, you know, actors are the same as agents, as the same as casting directors or any creative, because we're all sort of self-employed.
Yeah.
You know, we're all, you know, mostly, and we all were hit really badly. You know, it's not just down to one sector, that, you know, everybody across the arts was hit in different ways. So it's kind of like everyone's had to sort of go, right, okay, and regroup and just be, you know, my hope is that everyone's a lot more kinder, you know, to people. Everyone's a bit more tolerant. You know, it's not the deadlines, you know, I know the deadlines are still going to be there, but it, you know, I think we will have to change our working practices, I think, across the industry.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that, and I think that's great. And also Slack, Airbnb, they were all founded in a recession, in I don't know which recession, but they were. So yeah, great things comes out of hard times. So Bryony, could you give us a bit of background about yourself and yeah, how you got to being at the place you are right now?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so terrible at talking about myself. But I also originally was an actress. So I went to university, then I did audition for drama school, actually just for audition practice. And I auditioned for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and just got in like by chance and ended up living in LA for a while. And so when I was over there, I think the difference, one of the biggest differences that I noticed about drama school in America is that they really teach you the importance of the business side of things, and I actually found that I really enjoyed that side. So you know, I was over there and I was sending my friends for auditions instead of looking for auditions for myself.
Oh,
And I
wow.
thought, I was like, I don't know. And again, as Nikki was saying, I think to work as an actor in this industry, it has to be the only thing that you can think about. Whereas for me, I was interested in so many other areas of the industry. You know, I do some work in production as well, bits of casting. And then, so yeah, I came home from LA, found an advert for an assistant for Regan management, and I was like, oh, I'll give this a go. And met with Nikki, and the rest is kind of history. She taught me kind of everything that I know within the business, and I really, as an actor, thought that I knew the business, and I hadn't got the foggiest. So I take that, you know, with my approach to agenting is, you know, that kind of understanding of, when you're an actor, you kind of think that you've got it all kind of sorted out in your head, and sometimes you just need a bit more guidance. So yeah, learned everything that I know from Nikki, and where she goes, I go. So here we are.
Okay, cool. So you've both got an acting background and you've both had quite a varied experience for different things in the industry. So let's start with you, Nikki. What do you think that has, in which way has that informed or helped the way that you look after your actors?
I think that because I know what it feels like to go for auditions, to prep for auditions, to get rejection, to get jobs, you know, I can, so I understand entirely what the whole process of being an actor is like. So, and also in that, and I also know that you have to, how much work you have to put in yourself as an actor, and it's your career, isn't it? It's not my career, it's the actor's career, and we are there to facilitate and help and guide as much as we can, but you have to put in an amount of work yourself. You have to be very proactive, you know, you have to be really hungry for it, and you have to sort of just, you know, it is a job in itself, knowing what's going on, who's doing what, and you know, researching and just being on top of your game, really.
Yeah.
So I think that's for me. So if I ever see any sort of laziness or anything like that, you know, I'm like, come on, you know, let's get going with it, because I know what it's like to be an actor, and I was very proactive. selective, and I was very you know, I didn't get everything I went for, of course I didn't, but you know, I was like, okay, on to the next. And I think I had a good mental attitude about it, and think that's very important to me, that actors you know, realize that it's you know, maybe go for an audition, do as good a job as you can, and then move on to the next thing. And if that comes in, it's great. It's so hard, isn't it, when you've got a really good audition, you really want it, and you're like, if I get this, then I can do that, and I can pay for this, and you know, you do. I used to do it, you know, you think like, well, if I get that advert, I can pay for that loft conversion that I want, or whatever. You know, but it's that thing. It's really about being you know, on top of everything, really, as an actor.
We'll go into that, and specifically how people can do that in a moment. But Bryony, what do you think? Let's talk about then in terms of like your work in production. And you didn't mention, by the way, that you worked on an Oscar-winning project, so I think you should mention that, and then also how that working in that way on a project like that, but also any sort of experience within the casting world, how that has helped or informed the way that you look after talent.
Yeah, I think it's actually really important. I know that not all agents have worked in, you know, different sectors before, but it actually gives such a rounded kind of view of the industry, which you really do, I feel like, need as an agent. So yeah, I have done bits of work in production. And you know, so working as an actor, then working, you know, as, you know, assistant directors on set, and then I've also been working with you on casting. That for me was such an eye-opener, because as Nikki said, we all need each other in this industry. So we, you know, agents need casting directors, and to just see from a casting director's point of view, the sheer amount of submissions that you get is just insane. And so, you know, something that me and Nikki really pride ourselves on is that we work really hard to maintain good relationships with casting directors, and it is a trust thing. And so we only will submit actors for, you know, if there's a brief, we'll submit like 3-4 actors, so that we can, you know, show the casting director we're putting forward the right people, because those relationships do matter. And we're also not just bombarding with like lists of like 20, you know, actors who necessarily wouldn't be right for the role. I don't know if I've answered that question, but
no, you really have. And honestly, that is such an amazing thing that you're now aware of, because I think from any side of it, if you're casting, if you're an agent, if you're submitting people for a brief, if you're an actor and you're contacting a casting director, if I'm a casting director and I'm contacting a director or a producer, we're all really obsessed with this industry, and that's why we work really, really, really hard to make sure that we're on the top of our game for it. So I think that it's really good to be thoughtful in everything that you do, whether it's writing an email to an agent, asking them for representation, emailing a casting director, asking them about a project. But yeah, that suggesting actors, you know, you get a couple of chances to suggest in a way that is useful. But then after a certain point, I suppose, in casting offices, it becomes a little bit more difficult to take those suggestions seriously. So that is so important. But overall, I mean, the thoughtfulness is key.
Down to the little things, because it was the agents also, you know, when I was doing some work in casting, not labeling the files of the video, that just made everything so hard and like 10 times longer. So now for me as an agent, I would never, I mean, I hope I've never done it before anyway, but I would always double check now that, you know, it's the role, like everything is listed correctly, because it just takes so much of your time.
Well, that's the same. It's the same with an actor. So when we send something to an actor, say, right, you've got to do a self-tape. This is what I just say. Please follow the instructions, because, you know, some casting directors like to use Vimeo and private links. Some people like WeTransfer. You know, everybody's different, and for whatever reason they like it their way. And so just please do what they say. And the amount of times I get things in and it's not what, you know, they've not held it in landscape, or they've not, you know, and you're like, oh, and I'm like, just invest in a roller blind to do, you know, a nice roller blind to and put behind you, get a ring light, you know, get a good mic, and then you're aware you can do brilliant tapes then, you know. It doesn't have to cost a fortune, and it's just a little bit thought. I think the thing is that a self-tape is an audition. It's an audition. It's a chance for you to get in that room with these people, and it's not just something that you do at the end of the day when you can't be bothered, you know. It's like it's an audition, so it's put the time and effort in, and it will, you know, people have been cast on great things from self tapes, you know, even before COVID, you know, films have been, you know, so yeah, I don't know what my point was, but that's
well, you know, your point is that, you know, all of these, the instructions are there for a reason.
Yeah,
and
yeah, just follow them.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, you see on Twitter that I speak about Twitter a bit too much, but if you don't have Twitter, guys, as an actor, it's where I go to get all my news. If I need an update on the industry, I follow all the accounts that I need to, you know, equity, whatever it is, and I'll go on there for 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, I know what's going on now. I don't follow anyone, like none of my friends. Like, well, you're my friends, but like I don't follow like people I went to high school with.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? But oh yeah, so on Twitter, you know, you will see some casting directors like getting a little bit annoyed, like, please can you rename your files, or please can you read the instructions? And that's not for any other reason other than we want to be able to view, assess, and give everyone an equal opportunity. But if you've got 80 submissions and you've got all those tapes from all those people, or however they've submitted, and they haven't done that quite right, chances are, if you're working on a really quick turnaround, I might not even watch a tape because I don't have enough time to download it, rename it, re-upload it. And that sounds really harsh, but I think it's good just to instill that you should just read the instructions and, you know.
Well, it's just about being sort of like courteous, isn't it, and just listening, you know. So I'm always very, you know, courteous to casting directors, people working in casting, and knowing what they want. And you know, it's a triangle, isn't it? So you've got your actors, your casting directors, your agents. We all work together, and when it works, it's brilliant, isn't it? Because I'll suggest somebody will get them in, and then they'll get the job, and it's amazing when that happens. And that means we're all on the same page, aren't we? We all thought that particular actor was right for that job, and then they got it. So, and they did a brilliant audition, and that's and that it just makes life so much easier, doesn't it, when we all work together.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about work outside of London. So as we mentioned earlier, you know, actors, it's impossible for a lot of people to live in London. I mean, I really couldn't afford it when I was early 20s. It was hard, really hard. So, and now obviously that everything that's going on, and we are taping more and we are zooming more, what's going to happen in the future? So let's start with, as an agent, like on average, because you've got a really unique perspective, because you see all angles and loads of different opportunities and the general consensus on those. Like, I only know what I worked on and what goes through Backstage. Actors only know what they've been offered, but you know for everything, you know, all of your actors and everything that goes out. So how much notice do you usually get for your actors if they are based outside of London to travel into London? And how do you advise your actors, right, that's a good enough opportunity for you, actually, you should go?
So basically, if we'll have a chat with the actors before when they come in for the meeting and say, right, what is your situation with getting to auditions? You know, have you got another job that you do, or, you know, are you flexible? Because obviously we need to find out that we're not sending people for jobs and then they're going, oh no, I can't go to that, because that is just a waste of the casting director's time and my time and Bryony's time. So we find that out right at the get-go. We have a really good chat with them and see what they want to, you know, and then if people say, yeah, I can get to London. Now, people usually say to me, look, I don't want to go to London for adverts, because, you know, the chance of getting an advert is, you know, they see quite a lot of people, and it's, so I get that, I understand that. So I'll say, okay, fine. So with TV, it's usually a good few days. You know, it's usually a lot of stuff is like, as you say, it's a tape first, and then they might have to go to recall to London. But at the minute, it's mostly Zoom and mostly tapes. at the minute, so it's absolutely fine. So yeah, so usually in a normal working scenario, it's a few days, if a week maybe. Adverts, if it is an advert and they say, yeah, I'll go to London for adverts, or it's a really good one that I think they'll get, that can be the next day. So it is, you've just got to be ready all the time to go for things.
And with that that conversation where you do say, or they will tell you whether or not they're willing to travel, go to London for castings, would that in any way influence your decision on whether or not to take them on your books, or are you like open to any circumstance?
Do you want to answer that, Bryony, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I think, you know, as Nikki said, a lot of self-tapes, we can, for first round of auditions, a lot of our self-tapes anyway. When we do have to know that, you know, our actors are going to be available to go to auditions, because otherwise, you know, as Nikki said again, we don't want to waste anyone's time. But also, casting directors are, I would say in the last two years, Nikki, a lot more London-based casting directors come up and do Northern-based auditions too. So we most certainly don't, you know, say, oh God, you're not going to go to London. Absolutely not. But, you know, it does come a part of the territory that you're going to have to kind of travel around to get to auditions, I think. And we have to know that you have good availability. But casting directors more and more are coming to the North to do rounds of auditions, and then they do recalls down in London. So yeah, there is a lot more room to not just be in London at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's yeah, I mean, I don't think I've had any actor say ever that they aren't prepared to go to London at all. I don't think anyone's ever come in our office and said that. But actually, it's not that big at the minute. It's not that big a deal because there's so many northern dramas happening. So as Bryony said, if that's a London casting director that's casting that northern drama, they come up for the day or a few days. They'll come up because they don't want to miss the talent. They don't want the fact that someone can't afford a train fare down to London, and it's expensive, isn't it? If you've got to go the next day, you haven't got any rail cards, it's like 90 quid or something. So if you know, that is expensive and people haven't got any money, so they'll come up and so really, yeah, it's not, I think it's really changing. I think the face of the industry casting wise is really changing. I'm sure you can see that, can't you? It's not as London-centric as it was, not at all.
That's really exciting. I should ask, sorry, where specifically are you based?
Right, so I am at the moment, I'm not at the moment in my own house, but I work out of Manchester. So yeah, we work out of Manchester.
Okay, great. So Manchester is a great hub outside of London for TV anyway. What kind of opportunities can somebody in that area expect to get versus what they might be able to get more frequently in London? Obviously TV is one of them, but is there anything else that...
I think there's so in the north we've got a great pool of casting directors and casting teams that work in the north full time. So there are so many different TVs and films happening. Like now, you know, they're starting up again now. But I think that a good thing about the casting directors in the north and the casting teams is that we'll go and see theatre shows and they will go and see Fringe, and they're very good at. So there was they don't do them anymore, but there's a thing called JB Shorts. So it would be like a selection of short plays at 53.2. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's run by the wonderful Simon Naylor and Alexandra Maxwell, and they are with us as well, they have a lot of Fringe stuff that they put on, a lot of tryouts of plays, and the 53.2 the JB Shorts were like little short plays, new writing, and I tell you, all of the casting teams from Corrie would go, you know, everyone would go, you know, there'd be writers, producers from Red Production, you know, it was like so it's a real people know each other, and I think it's like London but in a smaller version of London basically, and they are good. They go and see things. So there's lots of Fringe stuff, there's lots of great rep happening. So obviously you've got the Royal Exchange, you've got Bolton, Oldham Coliseum, you know, we go out to Liverpool Everyman and Playhouse. There's so many theatres doing fantastic productions, obviously not at the moment, which is really sad, but again, you know, if I get someone in that job and I'll say, right, you're doing that for 2 months, and then I'll get someone to come and see it just puts you in the head of the casting director for when they next do something, think, oh, that actor's really right for that. And that's what it's all about, really. It's about connecting people, isn't it?
Yeah. and that north of England, Manchester and surrounding, even like Yorkshire, there are, as you say, there is much more of a hub for casting and opportunities there than I would say that's probably second outside of London. And then there's a few casting directors up in Scotland, and then very small this little community in Wales, tiny in fact. So those are good areas outside of London. If you are looking, look, I want to move out of London, but my career is still really important to me, where can I go? I'd say where you are is like perfect. And do you only represent actors, Bryony, I'll ask you this question, do you only represent actors who are based in and around Manchester, or do you represent people all over?
We represent people from all over. So we only will represent people that we've met, or someone that we've seen in a show and then had a meeting with. But no, we have actors that live in London that are originally from Manchester, or we have Londoners that are living in Manchester now. As long as we said before, people are willing to travel and get to places, then no, we had Scottish, we've got Scottish, we've got people
Irish, everywhere.
Because, you know, the UK in comparison to, you know, as I was saying earlier, say LA, America, is so small, so it is so easy to get around, you know, from A to B and get to these auditions. But no, we represent people from all over. We've got a Canadian as well, haven't we? So yeah, we've literally got loads of people.
Okay, well that's really great, because we have quite a few Americans in the house here today, and also this goes out on our YouTube and stuff, and this is what gets asked a lot is any questions from people who are based in the US and Canada, or even just generally outside of the UK. How does that work in terms of, are they based in Canada, that person?
No.
He's in Liverpool.
Okay. And would you look, if somebody approached you and they were based outside of the UK, is that something that you would consider?
I mean, I'd love to get to that stage when I can have people all over the world and have those contacts and get them in those jobs. But, you know, at the minute, it's probably, we are, I suppose, at the minute, concentrating on the area that we know and we're comfortable with. So it's all the sort of the northern and the London, it's the UK really. But you know, there are agents that do you know, have people all over the shop, or concentrate maybe on Eastern Europe or something, you know, so that those do exist. I'd say to actors, just always look online and look at Twitter feeds and things like that, and you can get a pretty good idea of what people can do from those.
And I should ask as well, do you only represent people over the age of 18, 16, or do you do kids as well?
We haven't, again, this is another area I'd like to go into more, but we've got 14-year-olds and upwards. We don't tend to have the little ones, just because it's like the licenses, and I think there are, again, people that are more established and that's what they do, they look after children, and they're a children's agency. So at the minute we're sort of going from 14 upwards really.
Great. Okay, very good to know. What is your advice around, so if somebody has their acting CV, their profile on an online platform, casting platform, and I get this a lot, right, where I'll ask someone or ask an agent if their actor is available, they're leading on their CV with London, and then you invite them in for a casting, and then they're actually not based in London, but they have a base in London, which is amazing. But obviously, for what we were speaking about earlier, where you're asking somebody to come to a last minute casting, I would be make other plans for that person if I knew that they weren't based in London. So what sort of advice do you give to actors? Should they lead with the fact that they are based in the hub, or should they lead with where they're actually based?
I would say it's always best to be truthful, isn't it? So it's always best to say, because I personally don't think if you live in Manchester or you live in London, I know it does. I know casting directors will use it as a bit of a filter, so they need for reasons of not wanting to do overnights and all of that stuff. They don't want that. They want them to be local. So what I tend to say to my actors is, right, so you're Manchester based, but put that you've got put London as well, and then as long as they can get down there and do the audition and they've got a place to stay. It's not, I mean, Bryony knows this, we've actually got a couple of actors work on something where they were saying, are they London based, and we said, don't worry about that, they'll be there, it's fine, and they got a job. Now if we did not have said that, they wouldn't have got that job. That would have been a filter.
So you have to sort of take it case by case with actors and see what is the actual capabilities of what they can do reasonably. So this might be a bit of a difficult question, Bryony, but how do you, is there anything in particular that you've been discussing with Nikki or that you've seen yourself about how COVID could potentially shape things going forward?
I think we've obviously learned that we can do things a lot more virtually. We always had that self-tapes would kind of be the first round of things, and I know that actors do prefer to be in the audition room, of course, because you can get a much nicer energy and bounce off people that way. But I do think that it kind of has opened more doors for people who aren't based in London, who can have these kinds of Zoom calls and things like that. Also, I just think, as Nikki was saying, I think that hopefully people will be a lot more kinder after this in the industry, because you know what it's like in this industry. It can sometimes be very competitive and dog eat dog, and I think that we've most definitely learned that we all need each other, and this industry, we are all going to need each other in order to bounce back to where we were before all of this happened. So I think that just giving that understanding of what each person does, what each other's roles is in this industry, and I hope that will make people more understanding of each other as well. Did that answer that question?
Yeah, that absolutely did answer that question with quite a few good answers there. Right, we'll move on now, because that's regional casting for you. So let's talk about getting an agent. So, Nikki, how do you like to be approached? What's your process for, what should people be sending first of all, and how should they be doing that?
So we like just a email. Don't really like to be approached on social media, just because if I have messages coming from all over the place, I just go, oh, it's just too much, and I kind of like, it's better to just email. I've got a website, there's an email address on that for people, it's on my Twitter feed, everyone knows my email, so just email us. And we prefer people to have spotlight, and have a good photo and a show reel, but if they're not on spotlight, that is okay, as long as we need to see something. So at the minute we can't go and watch anybody in a theatre piece, because there's nothing's going. So you do have to send material, because how can we take somebody on if we've not seen them in anything? So we have to see a show reel or some footage of something to see if we have got space on our book, if there's any clashes with anybody else, and if we think we can work with this person, and we think we can get them work. So that's it really.
And to you, as talking about credits and experience, is there a certain level of credits or experience, or do they need to have had training in order for you to, or do you watch everything?
Yeah, I watch everything really. I mean, Bryony has got some really great people from classes, and I have as well. I've been in the Northwest. There's quite a lot of sort of classes with people that have changed career. Have been doing another job and then want to be an actor. So I am really open to fact. Talent is everywhere, as you know, and it's in really strange places sometimes, and it's just trying to find it. And so we will go, and usually we'll watch classes, we'll go to all the showcases, and people can send us stuff in as well. And I watch every email that comes in. I look through, I look, I don't just go, oh, what have they done? I look at the photograph. That's the first thing. So the photo is so important. I get a lot of emails with people saying, oh, I've lost weight since I had that picture, or this is not my recent show. And I'm like, well, why are you sending it to me now? Just wait till you've got everything ready to go, then send it to me.
Yeah. And with the classes and things like that, when you say classes, just to be clear with everybody, are you going to workshops put on by yourselves, or are you going to workshops of other people's? Like, where can people like do a workshop and then potentially be seen by somebody like yourselves?
So there's a company called, in Manchester, there's Act Up North, there's Act for TV, and there's David Johnson, isn't there, Bryony? So those are the places that we all sort of head towards. Yeah. And then obviously the drama schools, so the Alra, Arden, Manchester Met. Where else do we go? Who else do we see as well up north? There's a few, we'll go to the drama school showcases basically when they happen.
Yeah. I think that the thing is that it can be really difficult in this industry to start out. And it can kind of be a vicious circle of, you need credits to get an agent, but you can't get good credits without having an agent, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that, for me, is one of the things as an agent, I really champion just going out there and finding raw talent. And sometimes all it takes is someone just needs that guidance. If we can get people up on Spotlight that aren't on Spotlight, amazing, let's work at it. Sometimes you really do just have to find the talent and just work together with your agent to get to that stage, because it's not that easy. Not everyone goes to drama school and then comes out after showcase with an agent. It can be really difficult. So there are agents out there that do go out and try and just source raw talent too. And yeah, I think
it's a mixture, isn't it? So we've got the book, I think, is really sort of eclectic. It's really, some people have done amazing theatre, some people have done amazing film. It's a real mixture of things. And obviously we don't take people on lightly. So when we take somebody on, it's because we truly believe that we can work with them and work together as a partnership, really.
Yeah, that's so important for so many reasons. I mean, being able to give people opportunities when they can't afford to go to drama school, that's not an option for people to live in London. They're from an underrepresented group. They might not have had that encouragement for whatever reason. Lots of casting directors, all casting directors striving for that now. So it's really great that agents also are doing that in order to give them those opportunities and make it a lot easier for us to find them than us going out as well. So that's great. So you spoke about your list of actors, so your client list. How does it work for you in terms of finding gaps? So if I, as an actor, I'm not an actor, but if I was an actor and I wanted to approach your agency, but there was 3 other girls on there, women, who looked like me and had a very similar style to me, is it worth me applying, or should I be looking for gaps in books before I apply?
I think that sometimes actors see themselves in a way that's different to the way an agent would see them or a casting director would see them. So they have a very clear idea of what they are. And I've had this conversation with people before going, oh, you've got such a body on your book, so they're similar to me. And I'll be like, really? I don't see that. So often what you'll find is, yes, maybe with the photographs they look the same, but they've got different skill sets. They're completely different. So I would just, if I was an actor, I would look online, look at people's websites, look at the sort of work they're doing, and then I would just apply to the ones that I like and see that's what I would do personally. I wouldn't worry about if it's the right time of year to apply or this, that, and the other. I'd say just go for it. That and that would be my advice.
I think that's something. Sorry, Hannah. No, you go. That's something that actors do quite a lot, is like self-sabotage. So they think of all the lists of reasons why they shouldn't reach out to that agent or reach out to that casting director to say hi. Just do it. We're all people. If it's a no at that time, don't take it personally. We will let you know if it's a case of, oh, actually, we've got someone on the books who's very similar to you. Try again in 6 months' time. That way, you've still made contact with us. We know your name. We've seen your stuff. it might be a no right now, but we'll speak to you again and take a look at a book in the future. So
it changes all the time, doesn't it? You know, people come into this industry and people go out of this industry, and I think COVID will make, you know, a lot of people will be deciding now, do you know what, I'm going to knock it on the head, you know, or I'm going to do something for a year and get some money back, and then I might revisit it. So it's going to be, it's going to be change really in lots of areas of our business, I think. So yeah, you can't really second guess what an agent wants, and you can't, or a casting director wants. Just be yourself, and make sure you've got a good photo. I mean, that is so important. A good photo, you know, just really sort your spotlight out so it's really clear of your skills as well, because the amount of when I look at spotlight, I'm sure you're the same, you know, you think, oh, they're really good at that thing and they've not put it down, or, you know, and I know that casting directors use it as a filter sometimes if they need a skill. So it's just making sure all of that is like as good as it can be and up to date as well. Up to date.
Yeah, definitely up to date. What about so Bryony, like if you said there 6 months, if you do apply for an agency and you don't hear anything back at all, what is a good amount of time to send another email, you know, without being annoying?
A stalker.
Yeah, again, I think it's one of those things. Everyone in this industry is kind of time poor and very busy, and sometimes things do slip through the net. So as long as you are not being a stalker, and Nikki, we have had quite a few of those. But as long as, you know, as long as you're polite, just hi, just wondered if you'd seen the email below. If you can get back to you, we would really appreciate it. Do you know what I mean? I think, again, don't overthink it. It's okay to reach out to people. We're all human, and sometimes things do get missed. We get a lot of submissions. I think in one day we had something like 150 just for one day. But we do read through them. We sit down together, we read through them all, even if it's, you know, once every 2 weeks sometimes, because they do pile up.
Put a day aside. You know, you have to do your normal work, don't you? You have to get auditions and jobs for the people that you've got. Those are your priority, and then you're thinking, all right, we'll look at those people. We do, and I write to everybody and reply. I do reply and say, look, it's at the minute I can't, you know, take you on, or, you know, I do try and reply. I mean, I try and give a little bit of, you know, if there was something on the application that I think would help them going forwards, I'll give them a bit of advice. But I can't go into, like, you know, some people really want me to sort of, you know, and I think I'm so sorry. That's not my job. I haven't got time to sort of tell you how to get into the business or all of that. But I'll happily, if you've, you know, sent me something without a show reel or without the information that I need, I'll be like, well, next time this is what you need to do. Yeah. So.
Great. So let's talk about how people can work best with their agents. So anybody that's watching who has an agent, they might want to just have some tips on how to work better with them to get themselves a bit more opportunities, a bit more foot in the door. You can double team up on something like two-pronged attack, you know, the agent's got you and then you follow that up with a casting director or whatever it is. So what can I ask you? Okay, really general question. How can an actor make you as an agent happy and that feel like they're doing the most that they can do for you?
Right, I love actors that are proactive and they are in charge of their own careers. So they're sourcing work, you know, they're getting their own work, but then, you know, we're getting them some things that maybe they wouldn't have got. So it's all the normal things, like just making sure your spotlight's up to date and everything's ready to go, that you are able to get to those auditions when they come in, that you are ready to go, that you have, if you're a singer, then you have to have a repertoire of songs that are ready to, you've just got to be ready for when those auditions happen. And also, you know, we like to touch base with everybody. We like people to get in contact with us. Don't ever feel that you can't contact your agent, because that's a really strange place to be. And if you feel like you're frightened to talk to your agent, then I don't know what that's about. I mean, no, agents haven't got a lot of time because they, you know, like everybody, we're sort of busy and stuff, but these are your clients. So we're always here, and we're always here to talk about, there's all sorts of life stuff as happens with people as well, that's not necessarily to do with the business, when people are thinking about changing things. And so yeah, it's just being in contact and understanding our job, and we understand their job. And I think for me, that's key, really. Not just thinking, what have you put me up for this, why have I not been seen for this, I'm perfect for it. That's not really, and often when someone I say, well, yeah, I have put you up for that, and I have pushed for that, but for whatever reason, they've not got you in. So it's so I'd say, well, try and make some connections yourself there as well. I'll do this end and you do that, and like you say, doubling up, and that's what it's about.
I think my favorite thing that I ever learned was they don't call it show business for no reason, and that it is a business, and it doesn't work if you don't work. As an agent, I will not put in more effort into your career than you are, because it's your career. We should be working together, but ultimately this is your career, and you can't sit back and wait for the phone to ring and wait for auditions. That's just not how it works. And I know, because I was an actor that did that sat back and thought, I've got an agent, so why has she not called me with an audition? And I had no knowledge of casting directors. Me and Nikki always say, you need to respect everyone's job in this industry. You should have a spreadsheet with, every time you watch something and you think that's the kind of show that I want to be in, who cast that show? Who's putting the people in those roles that you want to be in? And just having the respect of knowing who is doing what in the industry. Directors, producers, either, all. But yeah, just having a database of who does what, and just really being proactive.
Yeah, that's so true. There's that's how I got into casting, was I found out, well, first of all, I fell in love with Des Hamilton's work and realized that he was casting everything that I loved. And then I was like, oh, so there's different styles, and different producers even work on different things. Who knew? So yeah, getting that knowledge, and like we said earlier, you've got to really love it to not to succeed, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who have been not lucky, but have got themselves into certain positions through not being totally obsessed. But I do think anybody that I know who works in the industry is obsessed with watching, going to see things, being connected to people, speaking to people. So yeah, I think that's a very, very good point. When we're talking about so actors knowing what they've been put up for, and then what they can do to double up on that, what are we talking about when we say that?
So I if we feel that somebody's not had many meetings, or we do look at this, we go, right, let's have a look at this person today and look what they've and we think, gosh, we've sent them for a lot, why we try and look at and unpick why that is. So what we'll do is we'll have a chat with them and go, we don't think maybe your picture marries up to the way that you are, or there's something not quite working. And it's work when we've changed people's photographs, the amount of it's so unbelievable, isn't it, when it works out and they just start getting auditions. It's crazy. So really, when we're sending people through Spotlight, obviously there's going to be a list of the things that we sent them for. Now we don't send them that list because a lot of that is confidential information. We have to be respectful of casting directors, but what we can do is say, look, we've sent you for something with that, why don't you ping them a message just to put, so we can do it that way, whereas their email sort of lands in the laptop the same as our, when we send them for that particular part. So that's the way we like to do it, really.
Yeah. So as an actor then, you can ask that question to your agent and sort of work out what the parameters of what the agent is willing to divulge, and how they think would be best if you work together. So
every agent's different, isn't it? So it's that's the way we work, but other people might say, oh no, I'm not telling you anything, I don't know, but that's the way we are. I mean, at the minute it's such a strange time, there's not masses going on, so it's you're not going to get a massive list from your agent going, well, this is what I've sent you for, because it's just starting to get back now.
I do think you should feel, though, just going back to something that you said before, Nikki, I do think that you should feel that you can have those conversations with your agent. And if you don't feel that you can have those kinds of conversations, then I would start to kind of question, you have to have a good relationship. That's why me and Nikki only take on people that we know that we can work with. But But, you know, if you don't feel like you can call your agent and say, look, it's been quiet for me, is there anything that I can do, or, you know, anything that we can do together, then I would probably be questioning, you know, you've got to have a good relationship with your agent, for sure.
I think it's about communication as well, isn't it? I think that sometimes actors don't realise that we are working 24/7. I mean, I am like all weekend I was sorting out. I've got one lad that's gone to Switzerland this week, and then he's going on to Prague to do another advert. So all of that, COVID testing and, you know, this, that and the other, and all sorts of things and so that was me all weekend doing that, and that's fine, but that's why we do it. So it's communication. I think it's sometimes actors probably don't see that side of the things, the work that we put in. They might just have this image of us sitting, you know, swigging, you know, Campari or, you know, martinis or something, and, you know, and that's not really it. Like, you know, as a casting director, you work so hard, you know, and it's like it's constant. So yeah, it's just that I think for actors to understand what an agent's job is a good thing, and to understand what a casting director's job is, but also it's good for an agent to understand what an actor's job is, and, you know, so it's all good that we understand each. I always say that we should all work in you know, casting for a week, or be an actor for everyone should swap jobs, because then it would be such an eye-opener for everybody.
Oh my God, I don't think the world is ready for me to be an actor for a week. So I'm going to go to some questions. We've had quite a few through. So Safa Archer has asked, what's the longest time you've ever had for a callback? Hang on. What's the longest time you've heard for a callback? So yeah, space of time between having that first audition and being called back.
I mean, it's been months sometimes, because think about casting as a massive jigsaw puzzle. So for that part that you've been for, they need to cast 3 other parts first, and then to get you cast to fit in with that. So films take forever, as you know, films take a long time. It can be really long, but what you can do now, and what I'm trying to do, is I'm always trying to ask, has it gone away for, because I want to tell that actor to, you know, to stand down and just let it go, you know, if it has gone away for them. But sometimes I get a reply going, look, we're just, it's not been sorted yet. So I'll always pass that on to my actor. But it's a really tough one, isn't it? Because you're waiting as an actor, you're waiting for that definite yes or a definite no. And it's tough. And sometimes it's very fluid, isn't it? As I say, they've got to get those other parts in place before they can get that particular part cast. So every project's different.
Yeah. Somebody has asked, they're anonymous, but they have asked, maybe this is why. I'm curious about why commercials are so last minute. So am I. I'm just not sure about that side of the industry, and would love to hear if you know. Is there any way to reduce the number of last minute casting calls? So both of you have worked as an actor, both of you have put your actors up for commercials. Is there any insight that you can give as to why it's so last minute, and if there is anything that we could be doing to help that?
Wish I had the answer for that one, because we asked the same question.
I think that with commercials, there's so many people that are involved, like the creatives and the client and all these different people, and all these meeting after meeting after meeting, deciding what they want, and then they go, right, go, and like it's sort of like, that's it. Just, to me, it just seems like there's so many hoops to jump through before they get to that stage when they cast it, that it's like a month's gone by and the casting's tomorrow. You know, I really don't know. I don't know why it is last minute. I don't know. And I don't know what we can do to change that. Yeah.
Even down to like the rates for casting. So the APA, which is the Back to suggested, I don't know if they are linked to, but you get them from Back to, but the rates are based upon 1 day of sourcing and 1 day of booking. So for a full day casting, the casting director gets 1 day to source, availability check, book, and then the next day or a day after, whatever it is, then do the casting. So it's all set up in a way that means that we all go. So
yeah, because you're going to put it into that 1 day, because you're only getting paid for the 1 day. So, you know, I just don't know. I think The business has always been last minute forever, hasn't it, really? But it hopefully will change as we go forwards.
Hopefully. So Bryony, Ellen Arroyo, Ellen asked, what attracts you in a self-tape or an audition? What do you look for in the actor or monologue? So is there anything that you're particularly looking at or attracts you to somebody's performance?
Not really, no. It's a hard one to describe. Sometimes you just see something in someone. For me personally, however, but this is very different, with across the board. I love to watch something funny, because I can't even tell you how many, audition tapes we get through, or show reels where people are just trying so hard to prove that they can act, and they're crying and snotting. And so I personally, the one funny one that you see out of 50 really does stand out for me. But, that's not to say that I only look for funny monologues or things. It's just, as an agent, same with a casting director, you just see something in someone and you can't quite put it into words, and it just makes you excited about them and you just want to see them again. So yeah, it's a tough one, that one. What do you think, Nikki? It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's like anything. You see somebody, you go, oh my goodness, oh, I've not seen anything like that before, and then you get a bit your hair stand up, wherever on your arms or wherever. You just get a bit like, you get like a really weird feeling. It's strange. So yeah,
That's a really, really, really difficult one to answer, isn't it? But I think that a lot of what I like is when somebody is, if you're doing something where you can choose a monologue, or you can choose the piece that you're putting on your show reel because you don't have any other footage just yet. I would always just try and find something which is like close to you, as a like show yourself. I think, like to your point, Bryony, of like really trying very hard to show that you're acting. I actually don't want to see that a lot of the time. I want to see very, very natural performance, and the way that you can get there, especially when you're just starting out, is to do something which is quite close to you and let all of your quirks come out in it. And that's what I like. But as similarly, I like to watch things where it's like totally out there and is fantasy and things like that. But if you're looking for your first piece as a way of like building up your footage, then I would say just go for something which is like similar to you.
Because realistically, for TV and film, that's what you're going to get, that's what you're going to get seen for, aren't you? If you're a certain type, if say you're Girl Next Door, or you're going to go for nurses, or, those sort of types, if you're going to build up and go for day player roles and that sort of stuff, that's what you're going to go for. So maybe try and reflect that in your show reel, or would be good to start with.
We have to see where we can place you in the industry.
Yeah.
So if we know, oh, okay, she will play this role, we have to know where we would put you within the industry. So if you've already got your casting type nailed and whatever you've sent across to us, that's really helpful for us to see.
Yeah, because it shows that what your brand, because you're a brand, aren't you? As an actor, you're like you're a package. So it's like you're if you know what you're going to be seen for, and the reality is this is what I usually go for and stuff. That helps everybody, really.
Yeah. Amazing. We've run over, but I've got another question, just one last question, which I just think is so perfect to end on. Danielle Sylvan, you legend, has asked, is it normal not to have acting jobs for many, many months asking for a friend?
Yeah. I'm afraid so. It's a bit of obviously at the minute it's like doubly, isn't it, that that nobody's working, but it's a bit of a fruit machine, isn't it? Acting, it's a fruit machine. So you put your money in, you pull the lever, and sometimes it works out and other times it doesn't. And it's just about being positive and sticking on in there, really, but keeping your skill set up as well. That's what I would suggest.
Sometimes you need to grow into your casting type as well. That's something, we have. I always think of Keely. She went through a phase of we just couldn't get her seen, and then it was as simple as changing her headshots, but so that we we nailed her casting type, and then that was it. She was flying. So, you know, it does happen. You go through dips, but you also, you know, will pick up again. So don't lose hope.
And everyone's career is different, isn't it? You can't look at someone and go, well, they're doing this, why am I not doing, you know, it's, you cannot, you would go insane by looking at other people's careers and what they're doing. Some people are plodder, you know, not plodders, that's not, but some people are steady and they keep going and they, you know, they work constantly. Some people have like spikes of, you know, it's, everybody's different, and you really can't judge what other people are doing. You just got to do your own thing and keep going.
Love it. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I honestly, I really had to stop myself there because I wanted to go off on so many different tangents. There's so many more questions for you. So thank you so much for being so honest and open and yeah, giving such great advice to everyone. So lastly, let's just wrap up by reminding everyone of your Twitter handle, social media. So we are Backstage is at Backstage on Twitter. I am at I am at Hannah Castin. I should know that. Nicola, what's yours again?
So it's at Nick Boltman is the company, and my personal one is at Nikki Bolton.
And Bryony?
Yeah. It's just at Bryony Polizzi. Good luck trying.
Bryony Polizzi. Please do tag us and let us know if you've enjoyed it, and we love to see it, and also it means that I can continue doing these, so please do. Thank you so much, everyone, and that is it. Cheers. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye. Bye.